Attorney General Graham Leung has shared that the introduction of the Constitution Amendment Bill in Parliament was the correct procedure taken by government before they can take it to the Supreme Court. Leung says they would have been questioned in the Supreme Court if they had not brought it to Parliament first. Eva Denford Naisara filed this report.
Attorney General Graham Leung says all constitutional avenues needed to be explored first before involving the Supreme Court.
In some quarters there was a sense of despair and maybe even disappointment that the Constitutional Amendment Bill wasn't passed. But objectively speaking, when you look at the threshold, and by threshold I mean the requirement of 3/4 to have the bill pass a second reading, that is quite exceptionally difficult. And if anything, what the defeat of the amendment bill demonstrated was exactly the point the government's been making. It is exceedingly difficult to amend the Constitution given the formula that exists in Section 159 and 160.
Leung says now armed with evidence and experience, the government will be able to inform the Supreme Court that they have tried it and it did not work.
I think the decision of the government to introduce the amendment bill was the correct procedure. We certainly don't take the view that it was illegal, as has been suggested. We wanted to go to the Supreme Court having exhausted the constitutional pathway, because if we had gone to the Supreme Court 2 months ago, or early on in the term of the government, the Supreme Court could well have said, but there's a path mandated in the law, in the Constitution. You haven't even tried it.
He says the Constitutional Amendment Bill was all about process.
It was never about content. The content discussions, the going out to the people, that will come later, where everybody in this country who has a view on the Constitution is able to come forward to the Constitutional Officers Commission and say, look, we don't like the Electoral Commission. We think you should bring constituencies back. At the moment, if you're sitting in Suva, you represent somebody at the top of Wundu Point, somebody at the bottom of Onoila, and somebody in southern Kandawa. But all those localized communities have different needs and aspirations. If you're in Sanganga as a cane farmer, you're probably worried about the drains, you're probably worried about the mills breaking down.
He further emphasized that the government's intention was never to undermine the foundational values of the Constitution. Eva Danford Nesara, Fiji One News.